beautiful morning. Coming to you from Panama. And I like the sunrise episodes, but I've got such a heavy day today that I've got to start this right now. We're gonna double down on mental toughness in this live. This live is about mental toughness. This channel is about mental toughness. And with the statistics that we went over in the last live and on the on yesterday's live, I feel more galvanized in doing this particular operation. Because most people don't lack potential, they lack the ability to do what's uncomfortable on time. This is about fixing that. Timing being everything in the fight of life. And now, opportunities is like catching a bullet at, so we gotta do some matrix dodging speed. I'm gonna do some gorilla mind this morning. I'll put a link in the description to the gorilla mind. And I have to just tell you real fast, because there's nobody in here now, but the people that watch this later will see it. Epic Dawn coffee. Man, I don't even drink coffee. That's why I switched to the energy drink. All right, but this coffee right here, South American Colombian coffee, is some of the best. I just said it because whoever wants it, if they want, I've got a farmhouse. But I mean, I walk past this thing and it smells up my whole kitchen. It smells so delicious. But I got off of coffee because of the high amounts of tannic acid and a liver comparison one person just showed me. You can go to nutritionaldiversity.com and search for the coffee article and read more about coffee cultivation and coffees. And this one right here is chemical-free permaculture coffee, right? So if you are a coffee drinker, read that article. So the percentages, just to encapsulate it real fast, that we went over in the last live showed that 85% of people will work against you in this life going forward in the current culture climate of now. All right. So that's about mental toughness, not motivation, not hype, but the discipline to act when every part of you wants to delay. And we're going to murder this demon. And blood is this demon of procrastination and not doing the hard things, because it's a demon. All right. If it can slow you down, if it can deceive you and get you off your path, if it can distract you, because it's the same thing. A deception is a distraction from the truth. A distraction from what you're truly supposed to be doing is a self-deception. Actually, really truly is, in the strongest language that exists. That's the language of action. Okay? And hardcore mental toughness. Most of your suffering is not trauma. It's not bad luck. It's not other people. It's the things you know you need to do that you keep avoiding. And right now, as you're watching this, there is something you've been procrastinating on. You already right now know what it is. Your body just reacted when I said it. The rule of mental toughness, the moment that you have that reaction, that you notice, damn it, that moment, including right now, including whatever you just thought of, today, as soon as this thing ends, you handle that. And then every time something you don't want to do comes up that you would normally procrastinate, you smile instead, real big, and you attack the shit out of that right now. You push yourself forward, and anytime you notice a weakness, start reading about it. No, I'm dead serious. Start ChatGPT and start go whatever. Start getting information about it. You are a fool if you do not use this modern gym equipment that can make you very strong. Okay? You are a fool if you don't go through diverse sources of information, because if you just go to one source of information and it's distracted itself, now you're part of a chain reaction of miss. And you could be karmically held responsible for that because you have all the gym equipment and tools to build these strengths. You actually really have to look at a completely out of shape person, not just physically, but mentally, as a disrespectful, grateful person. You really do. Because you've been blessed with all of this stuff. And you're going to act like that, or you're going to think like that, you're going to look like that, or you're going to move like that. Pardon me. We know there's a disease in getting stuck in superficiality and caring just about what's cool and being a celebrity obsessed. And most intellectually advanced people don't have time for that kind of a person. So looking at that, decide right now if you want to be that kind of a person, go be it. That's fine. If you want to be this kind of a person, definitely this is going to be a powerful set of switches that we're going to switch right now and express differently moving forward. This is an observation from genetic nature where we're just turning on and turning off switches. So we can feel confident in that process having strong outcomes because we take the idea from nature. Pay attention to nature to understand everything better. Adaptability is the greatest measure of intelligence. And then that's Einstein. Stephen Herod Bonner points out a very obvious, quick observation in nature, which is it doesn't just teach you respect, it teaches you politeness, right? There is something out in the world that wants you to be disrespectful. It wants you to make your music about disrespecting somebody. Hardcore. Okay, the moment you notice resistance, you smile and you do it immediately. Not later. Now. And you start attacking it now. Everything else is actually less important. It really is. Even this live right now is less important. You should just jump off and start getting your thing done. Nobody's even jumped on. It's too early. Now, let's talk about something people don't want to hear. Here's another thing. I do what I do because it's right, because it's true, because at least I did it, and I'll look into doing it better as I go. And I know that it's through thousands of repetitions that it will become better. And the fact that I show up regardless of any outside thing, because it's really not an outside thing, honestly. None of it is, honestly. You can just go ahead and get rid of all your outside cares and intentions and all that, and just replace them with inside ones, and all your outside experiences will be so much better from that. Straight up. And your company, like, people that are on my team, they get a great piece of the take. It's not some fuckover situation. I treat them with lots of respect. I've had a long time managing teams. A long time, I'm really actually an expert in small, high operational team management. Straight up. And that means taking care of people, having lots of respect and politeness, having lots of tethered to nature, goodness, and good intentions. Everybody on my team's got good intentions. They're all pure, honest guys, or they're not on my team. I have very, very high, ruthlessly high standards, you know. That's a big thing. I've talked a lot about catching these bullets of opportunity and how to build yourself into someone who gets an opportunity. But let me tell you what most people do the first great opportunities they get. They don't hold the line. They take it for granted. They look for too many benefits. You know what I mean? Maybe they steal some things. Maybe they, mark some days for themselves. Maybe they, I don't know. But don't, you can see, let me tell it the way my father, the most excellent person I know on this planet, puts it. No, personally, right? It's impressive to me how a person could make $1.5 million, but they'll do something shady to make $1.7 million. Come on. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. What are you doing? And then they lose the whole gig. And this is such a classic story. And it's so easy to avoid. And if you build the discipline that we're building this 13th day of the month, January, just after we did our 10-day evaluation, right? Because we've got so many layers of discipline. On every 13th day of the month, I do extra stuff. On every 10th, 20th, and 30th day of the month, I do a 10-day inventory. I do extra stuff. And when I walk by certain door frames, I've got to do certain stretches. When I walk by certain locations, I've got to do some burpees. Before I walk through the bathroom doors, one of them, anywhere I am, I've got to pay my pee fee, my toilet tax. Do you see? I am turning myself into a machine. And I want you to do the same thing. Well, if you want to do the same thing, I would like, even better, if you want to do the same thing. I would like to get to know you more. I would like to connect with you at Brandon Angel Fitness on Instagram or wherever. I'm from the pager days. I'll put a link down below also to the bad breaking true stories of Albuquerque you'll trip. But I can do certain things really good with a computer, but there's little bits of holes in my game just because I'm not as generationally, I look very young and I'm in incredible shape for my age. And that's all natural. And I don't shoot anything. And I'm much older than you think I am. And there's some real wisdom dropping here, isn't there? I mean, you tell me so far here. All right. Everyone wants support. Everyone wants a following. Everyone wants attention. Everyone. Almost nobody wants to support others. So, and you know what? And then combined with the fact that I've done several experiments, now leaving my decade in nature, coming back to social media and all this stuff, I've done several experiments. Most low-level intelligences, not only do they start talking shit the minute you turn around and they were just kissing your ass, but now, you know what I mean? They cannot support, they can't click the like, they can't click the share for sure, right? So that's weakness. So look at that and galvanize yourself on the opposite polar side of the spectrum. Because you can do that now that you've seen this, according to Carl Jung, according to the universal law of polarity, right? Logic tells us if you study hardcore, you have way more value. You know more shit. If you're a deceptive being, on the other hand, but if you've known an extremely deceptive being, that whole thing I just explained, now that's a great, incredible opportunity that you've got that not a lot of people might have if it's super severe. So thank that challenge, smile real big, and bang, law of polarity over here. You can go so much higher now that you've seen that lower. Here's the uncomfortable truth, but we've tested this again, right? Social systems, algorithms, and incentives are quietly pushing people into narcissism. I've been saying for years, actually, that's the number one download they want you to get. I've been telling people for years, hey, dude, listen, I need you to double check yourself that maybe you've been programmed by novellas, or I mean, soap operas, sitcoms, whatever, to be seriously much more dramatic in this particular situation. It happened to me. And you'd pull them aside and tell them, it happened to me, but this is what's happening, right? And they're programming us for drama. And I can show you statistics about this. I'll just send you this live video right here. And the other one. Follow my channel and really be a fucking upgrade your navigational computer, because that's all I'm doing. I myself am a fellow journeyman, student of life. I'm not coming to you as a guru. I'm coming to you as a morning study partner. If you don't want to come, that's cool. I did my blade sharpening. All right. So I will show you the data. We will discuss the data behind this in just a minute, the test results behind this, the science. If you follow too many people more than follow you back, you will get deprioritized. And this seems to have been high level conversation, one of these $10,000 to hang out with me coaching secrets, right? You become less visible, you get recategorized as a mark rather than a murderer, right? You know what I mean? So, oh, okay, you're a killer content creator, follows no one, super narcissist, got it, boom. We'll make you, right? So, blind people do bad things, not always intentionally, but predictably, right? When you're locked in, this type of person and superficial validation, you stop seeing consequences. You stop seeing others clearly. You justify you would have judged for years ago. So when you download that number one download we just talked about, you will quickly fall yourself into a whirlwind black hole. It goes really quick, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And I can give lots of examples, but unfortunately their names aren't even worth mentioning, But, and like I said, so little dishonesties, little selfish moves, little avoided responsibilities. I started with the easiest one to talk about, right? And momentum doesn't care about your excuses. You either have it or you don't. You're either this kind of person or you're this kind of person. That's a real deal, right? Okay, now, again, when you become this kind of person, this does the little selfish moves, does the little dishonesties, does extreme two-facedness, enjoys it. I've even seen on some guys. That 85% maniacal personalities, well, there's all of them, a lot of them, some of them for sure have a very dire interest for that percentage to grow. You know what I mean? Because that's the way the control grid works. And we'll get into that in just a minute. But acting before your emotions, again, when I tell people, like, when you want to react to something, write the reaction down. Take 24 hours, think about it. Is your reaction the same? I bet it's not, especially when it's an emotionally charged reaction, either good or bad. We can fumble into extremity, especially when we were out in the jungle for years and years and years and lost a lot of our social skills, or were unpracticed, had rusty social skills. Identify the thing you're avoiding. Smile because you caught it, and do it immediately, right? No negotiation, nothing. Just press yourself one step at a time, one brick by brick, right? So Character and psychological orientation for the general population. 20 to 25% of adults consistently do difficult, uncomfortable tasks without external pressure. 50 to 60% know what they should do, but chronically procrastinate. That's a big percentage. 15 to 25% actively avoid responsibility and externalize blame. So actively avoiding responsibility and externalize blame. I think that ritual practice, action, dance right there is highly, highly detrimental to soul. And that's where that clinical download term we discussed just a minute ago, I don't even want to use it too much, comes in. And I think that clinical term itself, like no mouth sound, begins to describe really anything. It just helps. But that clinical term in specific, we're replacing soullessness with that. And I mean, various degrees of peligro to the soul, danger to becoming soullessness. All right. 60 to 75% score higher in narcissistic traits today than 30 to 40 years ago. 20 to 50% display elevated narcissistic behavior, and 1 to 6% meet priority for clinical NPD narcissism. But I think that's highly off, honestly. And let me just tell you, anti-narcissism.org for further expansion on this. And I know it's a topic that people don't like, so we're moving on. Social media participation. It's doing this attention dopamine regulation thing with us, right? So 40% reduction in sustained attention capacity comes from regular use of social media. That's fucking scary to read, because already one of my mental sparring partners has grilled into me, and he's right, and I'm thankful for that grilling. I'm thankful for that repetitive, course corrective, real bro thing. That way, nobody can focus. Focus is the golden skill right now, and it truly is. It truly is. I mean, I would say your focus equals your freedom. If you can focus and you can get your shit done, then you can get freedom, and you can get it big time. And I know 20 guys who've got it. And the bigger the problem, the bigger the ability, so I wouldn't be against big goals that you can have a 10-year plan about, and that you can slowly just knock the steps out, and then you'll be really glad at some point that you did it, because even if it's not that project will have led to something, right? So the algorithmic incentives that we kind of went over before are self-focus, outrage, and image over substance. What we already had with the Netflix, with the soap operas, with the As the World Turns and Desperados, you know what I mean? It's like, fuck, dude. So they have been incrementally, there's enough evidence at this point to show that heavily evil influences are pulling some really freaky strings, and we're continuing to be stuck in these really horrid eras as far as our love one another, love thy brother and sister situation. And even when I turn on a kids cartoon, even down here in Latin America, it's just like, whoa, this is what we're putting on for our children. No wonder everybody's so debaucherous and fucked up, All right, so, and that's what I mean. Once they can get you to get far enough over here, it was over here, on the negative spectrum, you can fall into a whirlwind black hole. And then that's when everyone around you becomes your life raft, and you might find yourself deceiving them. And if that's you, let me just tell you something right here, okay? Because I've been far down. I've seen this a lot. I've seen that, what I just described, a lot. And it even caused me several times to start falling into it. And then I've had to crawl out several times. And because of all of that, that polar, I know that law of polarity shit is true. And I've been able to sprint for years. And that's what it takes. Don't be too. Now, I wish somebody could have, if I could tell my younger self something, I'll be like, man, you got it. I would have told myself to go harder, faster, right? Like get clicked in and get down. And it feels good once you're finally there. I can't tell you how good it feels once you're there. Once you get high enough over here, you don't want to lose it. You don't want to, you know, your build is too good. You can start to see it's no longer foggy. You can start to see the reality of all these manifestations you started way back here, you know, and, you can become a truly powerful being over here. You can get promoted by both sides, no doubt about it. You know, but these guys, they'll go, you know, you really, you know, you're gonna get picked up and you're gonna get slammed down, and the eternal consequences are not really that debatable anymore because of all the NDEs and the comparison books and everything, near-death experiences that have now been. And there's so many. All right, so listen, this is another thing in cultural outcomes. We're going to look at civil trust declining, long-term thinking, a decline in long-term thinking, a decline in patience for skill development. Great opportunity for those of us who buckle down hard now, right? Performance morality. We're going to see an increase in performance morality. Those diamonds of us that are being formed under pressure in the coal vein by all this ridiculousness, it's churning us out too, right? So, short-term emotional reactions. But listen, understanding, being aware, being above, being on top of, being in knowing of these things, right? Now let's go back and talk a little bit about how we get into the whirlwind black hole specifically. It's small avoided tasks. It's reduced self-trust. It's increased rationalization, lower empathy, poorer decisions, and compounded consequences. All right. This mirrors what behavior economists call negative compounding with delayed feedback. People don't fall apart suddenly, they drift. Napoleon Hill quote, outwitting the devil right there. One line, and that's a prerequisite to even getting on a Zoom call with me. One line you can drop in, only about 1 in 5 people will do what's uncomfortable without being forced. And I think that's a reserved estimate. I would say in certain pockets, it might be 1 in 50 people, you know. And modern systems quietly reward the opposite. They really do. They quietly reward the opposite. Only 5 people, 1 in 5 people will do what's uncomfortable without being forced. And modern systems quietly reward the opposite. If you want next, I can compress these stats into a 30-second. Oh, whoops. Sorry. Here is a polished high authority set. Most people are not failing because they lack talents, intelligence, or opportunity. They're failing because they've trained themselves slowly, unconsciously, to avoid discomfort. Behavioral data is brutally clear. Only about 1 in 5 adults consistently does the hard thing without being forced. Everyone else, and again, I think it could be 1 in 500 in certain places, man. You know, everyone else knows what they should do and delays. That delay doesn't stay small. It compounds. Avoidance erodes self-trust, and when self-trust weakens, decision-making weakens. The good news is this: the moment you reverse the pattern by doing the uncomfortable task immediately, you step into a minority class of people whose lives reliably improve. The mechanism: when resistance shows up and you act anyway, your nervous system recalibrates. You restore internal authority. You know that you're a go-getter now, and that's compounding as nails. All right. Studies on self-regulation show that decisive action reduces anxiety, increases focus, and strengthens long-term motivation. That's why the rule is simple and ruthless. When you notice resistance, you smile and you act. The smile matters. It signals that you've caught the old pattern and overridden it. This habit separates high-functioning people from those who remain stuck in loops of intention without execution. Now, if you find the smile is an important feature as well, because if you find yourself smiling at the excellent performance, correctness, overriding of deception from someone, excellent performance, correctness, if they're everything you wish you could be, and now that person's got you smiling, pay good note to that, because they noticed it, because they're that high level. And they notice that you're dealing with this small jealous-minded complex that you need to overcome and get miles more distance before they would ever give you any kind of serious recognition. So now layer in the environment that we're living in. Modern social systems quietly reward self-focus over character. Algorithms incentivize image over substance, visibility over virtue, and receiving support over giving it. Most people want a following, yet few are willing to follow, support, or uplift others. This isn't just cultural, it's behavioral conditioning. Over time, people drift toward narcissistic habits, not because they're evil, but because the system reinforces it. The cost is real: higher anxiety, weaker relationships, poorer judgments, and a gradual blindness to consequences. Now let's re-engineer that real fast too. Okay, check this. If I go ahead and do that, let me just follow 5,000 when I've only got 900. Now, the only people who are really going to take me seriously and look at my content are not people that judge based on that kind of a thing. And if the algorithm can keep me smaller and in the scope of more genuine people, well, this is the experiment I'm conducting now anyway. I'm going to upgrade my content quality slowly but surely, and I'm going to continue to just follow way more people than what I am being followed by, right? And with this particular account, and see, because listen, at the end, you may want 350,000 fake followers that you can just sell your products to or whatever. That's a functional business function. I feel that it's fairly cheap, that if that business function is character, discipline, because I'm doing all this just to do all this, right? For the love of the game, of the thing. Okay, so I'll respect the businesses or whatever, right? Even though, like I said, to talk about fitness, character, and principles, and you're shooting steroids and selling injectables, like, you know what I mean? Talk about being part of the fake game. You know what I mean? Talk about just using people. Talk about a not win-win. Maybe that guy hasn't been educated on what it is, but dude, if you're so high qualified, but that's the thing. Once you start injecting these chemicals, once you start putting so many chemicals and contaminants in your body, you can't think straight, and your morality is going to be completely off, I've noticed. Like, it is a huge, right? I am 1,000% saying that a moral, ethical commitment is the most strongest action in the action box. And actions really, at the end of the day, are all that matter. So like I said, what I'm wanting to cultivate, at least in one channel out here in this overall social media experiment, I want to cultivate realist people, smallest circle. That's really, I want to rifle through all the dummy marks that could buy our product. With this particular experiment I'm doing right now, I'm finding excellent, genuine people. Business operations, I'm happy to do, but I'm not happy to be a charlatan, liar, deceiver, Joel Osteen, Liver King, Wes Watson. There's fucking thousands of these rip-off, a lot of those down here, these fucking rip-off, and these poor kids, all these poor kids, they don't have an old head that's like, psh, dude, you were gonna fucking send this guy thousands of dollars, he's not gonna do shit to you, he's just, thanks, you know? Calling themselves gurus, did you notice just a little bit ago? I said I'm your fellow journeyman. I'm your morning study partner. This is where valiance becomes a competitive advantage. This is where valiance becomes a competitive advantage. This is where valiance becomes a competitive advantage. And honestly, it's just for me, man. It's the road I'm wanting to live. And I don't need the other 200 grand. I'll make the 1.5 million. Thank you. And be completely valiant and set that example for my young ones and see a team move forward like that after I'm gone from above. People who maintain internal standards, and that's because I love God and I appreciate this whole situation so much. And I see what it is because I went out to nature for so long and I've been to hell a couple of times. And I see that lower level intelligences, they like to hear the sound of their own voice. They talk to gossip, they talk to drama, they talk to TV show, and they talk that they're experts in everything and they're way better than all the high level performers that are for real. And those are the narcissists. No, this is some of them. Yeah, Liver King, yeah. Westwood, yeah. Joel Osteen, yeah. That's narcissist, yeah, for sure. And that's why we study, because this is all a very dynamic existence and experience, right? And the more dynamic we become, the sharper the blade is, the more it cuts through. I would never send anyone into the jungle with a machete and no file. This is where valiance becomes a competitive advantage. People who maintain internal standards, who act without applause, support without immediate return, and do the hard thing before it becomes urgent, consistently outperform. They have clear thinking, stronger relationships, and fewer catastrophic failures. Not because they're perfect, but because they course correct early. They don't allow small avoidances, small dishonesties, or small cowardices to accumulate into what eventually becomes a personal black hole of consequences. You know, I was just thinking, I even have close tough guy friends, but they're afraid to be too supportive. Also, too supportive because they don't want to get walked on. No, when you find quality people and they're truly supportive, now you've got a thing, man. Now you've got a win-win thing. Right? Okay, the data is unambiguous. Excessive validation seeking increases anxiety. It increases depression. Passive consumption. Listen to this. Passive consumption lowers self-worth. Chronic procrastination predicts poorer life outcomes across health, finances, and relationships. The inverse is equally true. People who act decisively, self-audit regularly, and maintain accountability even when no one is watching experience measurable gains in confidence, focus, and life stability. Character, it turns out, is not a moral abstraction, it's a performance system. Character is king, ladies and gentlemen. You want to watch this whole channel now, do you? There's no one even here right now, but you do when you see this. So the incentive is simple and real. And if that's true, get a hold of me, man. Let's build this. So the incentive is simple and real. If you want clarity, strength, respect, and momentum, become the person who does what others delay. Support where others withhold. Act where others scroll, and build when others posture. This path is harder at first, but it is exponentially easier over time. Weakness feels easy now and costs later. Valiance costs now and pays forever. Guys, go to nutritionalbiodiversity.com. Get the CoQ10 for your heart health because of the toxins we've been consuming in the biological sphere. And your longevity and your gym performance, believe it or not, you will see a little bit, 2-3% increase in your gym performance. Ashwagandha, you'll see a 10% increase in your gym performance. All right, the pre-workout, right before you go, you will see an increase in your gym performance. The protein you need afterwards, the peptides, the collagens, all the very key necessary ingredients, super well sourced, are in links below at nutritionalbiodiversity.com. Okay? Nutritionaldiversity.com. Get with us in the nutritional community. If that's your interest, BrandonAngelFitness.com. If James Bond lifestyle and hardcore physical fitness is your interest, if you would like to get into the group powwow, because you're a Schematics follower, you get in free. All right, so you can just get a hold of me at Brandon Angel Fitness on Instagram or BrandonAngelFitness.com. And you can join our Epic Dawn, all right, where we get up and we study the greats and we do some burpees. And right now that's just mostly on Thursdays, so get a hold of me. All right. And we got a thing with this coffee because we got such an increase on the coffee. We got a great affiliate thing, and we're going to be growing the coffee with other fitness influencers and all that, right? We're going to continue to create information, media, and products that help the world, that are positive. I will never open a bar or a liquor store, and links below, you can find out that I was the club king of Albuquerque, New Mexico for an epoch, right? I love you guys, man. I truly mean that. And I will never rip you off. I will never fucking belittle you or disrespect you, you know, and you know, I'm not looking to get taken advantage of either, but I'm definitely, look at that beautiful sunrise coming in, you know, so we can have a well-guarded pitter-patter exchange, or you can recognize the genuine authenticity because you're genuine, authentic yourself, and it takes one to know one, and you could just hit me up like that or whatever. I probably shouldn't have even said that because unearned wisdom and unearned high-skilled operations, right? Such as setting yourself up with an LLC and contracting for your job and going remote and taking the risk and charging less because Latin America is cheaper, but you eat like a king never has if you're connected to me. It's also possible too. We even have something called the Renacimiento Retreat, and that's in the links below as well. Much love, guys. Have a wonderful day.